everybody's talking about? Well, we sure hope it's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. This is your show. This is where we take a fresh look at ourselves and the world around us. And we come away a little bit changed, hopefully a little bit closer to God. I'm Debbie Georgiani with the one and only Jerry Usher. And 5+ years, we've been going strong. Almost, wow, Jerry, it's 5.5 years. Can you believe it? Time flies when you're having fun with the Take Two family.
Yeah, 5.5 years. Fantastic. We give thanks to God for that. And we give thanks, of course, to the affiliates, the show team, and most of all to you, the Take Two family, for, every time we come on the air, we give you a topic. You have something very important and inspiring to say. And today I think we're going to be able to drill down into something, Debbie, that we all experience at some time in our lives. And it could be a hard thing to do, but we are going to try and do it here on the show today.
Oh, wow. It can be a hard thing to do, to end a friendship or a working partnership. And on the show synopsis, we talked about how painful that can be. There's harsh words that are said, things that you can't take back. Even it sometimes can come to blows, some physical assaults. I mean, I knew two young men that started a business together, and it didn't go well. And when they had that final meeting, they punched each other out. That's not a good thing. That's not, but they were filled with emotion and frustration, and they were so upset at things they had done, and they accused each other of things that you can't take back. And that's in a working partnership. But how about friendships? Okay, friendships are really tough. We want friends, right? We want to be accepted. We want to be loved. And then when the friendship becomes, toxic, or it's overwhelming, or it starts to stifle our current way of life, we have to make these hard decisions to say goodbye. It's hard to say goodbye. How do you do it in a Christian way? How do you do it in a loving, kind way? Or do you just say, see ya, block my name, block my number, it's over? Let's talk about it. This is really helpful. And this was suggested by one of our listeners who they really were struggling with the friendship, and they wanted us to address it. Actually, they wanted us to address it numerous times during the year, because they think it's really, friendships have changed, Jerry, during COVID. And so things have shifted. And some people have some hurt feelings, like they feel like, wow, my friends didn't even check on me to see if I was, how I was doing. So here's the number. Please dial in and share your take on this, of if you've ever had to end a friendship. What did that look like? What was the experience like? Did you learn things from it? We want to know all the aspects that we can grow and learn from. 833-288-3986. That's the number to call. If you're listening right now, you hear the sound of our voices. You do not have to be Catholic to call in. You're listening. We consider you part of the Take Two family. Please add to this discussion.
All right. Again, it's 833-288-3986. Talking about relationships that came to an end at some point in our lives. And this isn't necessarily just, people you're not close to now that you went to school with 40, 50 years ago. We're talking about close friendships, people you work with, maybe fellow parishioners at church, could be within your family, family relationships. And, so many relationships are one way. And I think that contributes a great deal, or at least they're perceived to be one way by one of the persons in the friendship. So, it is, and it's so sad, really. It's sad because friends share so much over the years. You do things together, you go places together, you celebrate the events in one another's lives, and then all of a sudden something happens, and friendship has to come to an end for whatever reason. So, dear listeners of Take Two, this is your moment right now to share with us and share with the world, really, if you've been in that situation, at 1-833-288-3986.
That is the number to call. And I just wanted to share, our friend Rick sent this in when we posted the show on take2show.com. Rick said, there are different circumstances under which relationships break up. One of those described almost exhaustively in social media is the breakup of a narcissist with a family member, a friend, a coworker, a couple in a premarital relationship. This breakup is based in the realization that the narcissist is exploiting this partner. Eventually, the victimized partner has a, quote, red pill moment when they realize it is time to go, quote, no contact. and to throw off the mental restraints that the narcissist has imposed on them. Mother Angelica and Father Benedict Rochelle, on separate programs, spoke about the problems in which a person is treated like a doormat, and they both agreed that there are times when the relationship and the abuse must be brought to an end. Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes, I think some words of wisdom there and what Rick said. Thank you, Rick, for weighing in on that. And I believe he posted on the website, correct? Take2show.com?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. When we can, me and labels. I don't like labels, but narcissist, sociopath, and stuff like that. When you know that or passive aggressive, when you know that somebody is doing something that is really, hurting you, it's really messing with your mind. What discernment process do you go through to figure out if it's time to do what Rick said, that no contact? What do you think, Jer?
Well, that's the saddest part of all, because, contact, human communication with one another is so very, very vital to our way of life and to our the way we live, to our lives. So yeah, I would agree with that. And, I just really want to hear from people today, because we're talking about ending relationships. If you have had to end one, but maybe you were on the receiving end of someone ending a relationship with you. We'd love to hear how you dealt with that, especially from a Christian point of view. Maybe you were witness to somebody, a friendship breaking up, and maybe you tried to step in and do what you could to keep that from happening, and maybe it just didn't do any good, or maybe you did salvage the relationship, the friendship. So a lot of ways we can go with this, Debbie, and we're looking forward to many, many calls about this.
And we're going to be sharing some things in life coaching that we learned and we pass on to all the clients about friendships and what it means to have it meet the needs for you. And so that's always a good thing. If you ever want to visit us, you can visit us at standtalltoday.com and check out the long list of certified team of coaches that are willing and able to assist you to have you live your best life. So that's standtalltoday.com. But we're talking about friendships today and ending friendships. It can be painful. It can be rough. Maybe you don't want to talk about it, but maybe you need to talk about it so that you can help us. So call in 833-288-3986. And when we come back, we're going right to the phones to hear what you have to say.
EWTN Open Line.
I enjoy hosting Open Line Tuesday because of the variety of questions that our listeners call in with. The show also gives me the opportunity to personally connect with Catholics and non-Catholics all over the world, telling me as host what their cares and concerns are in the areas of faith, family, and fellowship.
Open Line with Father Wade Menezes. This afternoon, 3 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Unplanned, the true story of Abby Johnson.
I would be the youngest director in Planned Parenthood history.
She believed in a woman's right to choose.
I've had an abortion myself, so I don't have any problem with another woman making the same decision.
Until the day she saw something that changed everything.
Tiny, perfect little baby. And then it was just gone.
Now she's pulling back the curtain on the abortion industry. Unplanned.
Available at EWTNRC.com and the EWTN app.
Each person has dignity and worth, not because of his physical abilities or occupation, not because of her skin color or status. Each person is valuable, not because of his productivity or age, but because we are human, created by God in His own image and likeness, and neither economics nor emotions should alter the length of each person's gift to humanity.
Great to have you with us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. I mentioned the show team in the first segment, and they would be Michael Birchfield, Jeff Burson, and Ryan Penny. And affiliates, thank you for carrying the show. And there is, EWTN doesn't just do radio. Of course, you probably know them for television, first of all, but EWTN is providing radio programming for many, many years now as well. And they also have print publications, publishing, online news sources, and so forth. And one of the news sources, which is in print, is National Catholic Register. It's America's most trusted Catholic news source. resource with a comprehensive view of the world from a distinctly Catholic perspective. And we encourage you to take out a subscription to that, because I think it's more important than ever these days to know not only know what's going on in the world, but look at it through the lens of our Catholic faith. So you can sign up and get your subscription at ncregister.com. That's ncregister.com.
Okay, so we need you to join us and help us out here to make this a very robust discussion on ending friendships. We hope you don't want to end the friendship with us. So we know you're listening, and we know we have a lot of listeners worldwide. So we need your help, though. Just don't soak it in and take notes. I'll take notes for you. Okay, what we need you to do, if you feel that prompting of the Spirit, is to call in. Dial this number, 833-288-3986. And before the break, Jerry, I mentioned standtalltoday.com, but also on there we have the Inspired by Faith book club. And I just wanted to highlight this because we started this book, and it's not too late for you to join us at Inspired by Faith Book and Fellowship Club. It's headed by our dear friend and team leader, Gigi. She does a fabulous job. We're reading 100 Ways John Paul II Changed the World. It's published by Our Sunday Visitor, and you can find it at EWTNRC.com. It's not too late. You will love this book. Please join us. We're having a blast. And Jerry, you and I both talk about this. Don't we just love John Paul II? I used to remember the chant, John Paul II, we love you. Remember that?
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that's the book for January. And we've got a fabulous book on love coming up in February. So join us. So you can hit the book tab on that same website, standtalltoday.com. Okay.
All right. Today we're looking for your calls on ending friendships. Excuse me. I'm the one with the frog this morning, Debbie. The frog in my throat here.
I gave it to you
over the Comrex line. But yeah, we're talking about ending friendships. If you've ever found yourself in a situation, maybe it was a super strong friendship, maybe just not such a strong one, still a friendship, and the other person or persons, they got involved in this or that, or maybe a lifestyle choice, or maybe it could be whatever it is. Maybe they insulted you in some way, or just showed you that they weren't really a loyal friend or something, and maybe you've had to say, look. We've been friends, but because of X, Y, Z, I think it's important for us, at least for me, that we not be close friends anymore, that we not have all of the closeness that we once had. So that's one example for you there, 833-288-3986. Calls are being screened by Ryan Penny right now, so as soon as he finishes and gets those up on the board, we will absolutely go to the phones here in just a moment.
Well, I've shared this before. I have many of my friends from my childhood. So as you can tell by my personality, I like to keep friends. So ending friendships can be quite hard for me. I don't know how. I mean, I have had to do it, and especially working situations. But I try to, finish with kind of an open door, a way to move forward. Not such a break, a real cut of the relationship, like goodbye, I never want to see you again, I don't care what happens to you, that to me just seems very harsh, and it seems cruel. And what I mean that is, it's harsh because it comes at the person so fast, and then later on they realize that is really cruel. It's not nice that they wouldn't care about me anymore. So I kind of try to transition those types of relationships to kind of what I call like the outer circle of friends. You still stay in touch. You maybe send Christmas cards, that kind of stuff, but you're not necessarily on, a weekly, day-to-day basis conversing with them. What do you think about that, Jerry? To kind of, and rather than a real strong break, do you like the open door kind of thing?
Yeah, I'd never really looked at it that way. I guess I would wonder, if you still have enough of an association with someone to like exchange, like you said, Christmas cards and so forth. That to me, that's leaning more towards still being pretty good friends. To me, although I don't send Christmas cards at all anymore right now, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting concept. I hadn't really given that much thought.
Yeah, well, it's so funny because you kind of answered like Marty did. I think it might be a guy thing. I don't know. That would be interesting to see if women treat friendships different, in a different way that, and as guys see it, because you just said, well, that, kind of acquaintance level is really maintaining good friendship. So I guess with girls, they think good friendship is like you can pick up the phone at any time and just pick up where you left off.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. We should explore that. Okay, so we need some other guys to call in to share their view of friendships to begin with, and even their view of working partnerships. Well, let's hear what Amanda has to say in Fountain City, Wisconsin. I hope I got that right. Is a first-time caller and is listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Amanda. Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I had a friend, and it's been 4 years now since we kind of mutually stepped out of each other's lives. We're in separate states. But during a sacrament for one of my children, my oldest children, we decided we could not go on morally as friends. And I did last year apologize for the way we kind of ended it, kind of abruptly. And we need some forgiveness for that, but I've never heard any type of forgiveness from her, and I don't really know where to go from there. But very hurtful after so many years to lose a friend. But it's hard.
Yeah. I imagine it is. You mentioned something about, it revolved around one of your children receiving one of the sacraments.
Yes.
Did I have that right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's. I guess that's especially difficult and challenging. I know, because these receiving the sacraments are such important milestones for each and every one of us, especially our young ones. We want to celebrate that with the world if we could, and to have that lead to this strife in your relationship with your friend. That's very, very unfortunate. Debbie, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I'm curious, Amanda, not to have you reveal too much. Was this friend, were they religious at all?
Yes, very, very religious. Not of the same faith, but Christian. And she thought the way that I approached the subject of what was going on was like I was taking the high horse type thing, and being very judgmental.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See that, it's interesting. I always say this all the time. I had a really great life coach trainer way back 20 years ago who used to say, you only know a person as much as they know God. And sometimes we just maybe sometimes assume that if somebody is a believer, and we automatically share so much of the same kind of internal feeling, and sometimes that it doesn't work that way. Everybody brings to the table their belief systems and their fixed beliefs from their past, and all sorts of things they bring to the table, and they can rise up at any time during a conversation, during something, and you could kind of be a little bit taken off the mark, going, "Wow, where did this come from?" Is that kind of what happened, where you were kind of shocked that her response was this?
Yes, it was something, I don't know something that morally I did not agree with, and
Right.
it happened with a family baptism afterwards, party, you could say. And I approached her, and she didn't think that was a big deal, but to me and my family, it was a very big deal. And
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that's
Where to go.
unfortunate. Yeah, that's unfortunate, because it's obvious, you can hear it in your voice. You have a great feelings for her, and you probably really trusted her, and so that's why you went to her, thinking you would feel, yes, and that can be very hard. My heart breaks for you, because that's an unfortunate situation. Do you think there's any way to revisit it down the road?
Yeah, we've kind of casually talked a couple times, but nothing too serious, as we used to be real good friends in college, and I've always wanted to be a part of my life, but she had toxic issues, and I just don't feel that's appropriate for my family and the kids. So, but
Yeah,
I just wanted to give my thoughts.
yeah,
Thank
that's
you,
tough.
guys.
What do you think, Jer?
Yeah, well, I agree with everything that you said, Debbie, and I'm happy to hear, Amanda, that you have had some contact with this individual. Maybe just chipping away at it little by little like that is going to help to one day bring you back and be a lot closer than maybe you were. But it sounds like you've used the word toxic, and you didn't want this friend like in your life because of some of the stances she took or whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, especially if you have children, you have to you have to look at the way you want your life to be and the way you want your children's lives to be and how they grow up. And sometimes these things just happen. So yeah.
Well, and let me share something else too. Sometimes when you move away from somebody, and I know how painful that can be, it opens the door for someone else to come into your life, to maybe better enhance your spirituality, maybe to offer wonderful, healthy challenges to one another that can make each other grow in a healthy way. So sometimes that's a good thing. The other thing too is, friends are really supposed to, I think anyway, are supposed to be there to really enhance the journey. And I say enhance because our journeys are ours, right? And they're there to enhance it. I mean, when we die, we're not going to be taking our friend with us, right? We're going to be alone and going out of this world alone, okay? But they also should be there to help us grow in faith, and we should be able to build and to grow. And if it feels like it's too much, if it's not healthy for either party, sometimes it's best to step aside and let somebody else take that place. I think anyway. Sometimes forcing friendships to carry on when they really aren't working, if you will, that can lead to major issues. What do you think, Amanda?
Yeah, I agree. I have actually, moving up here, become close to an old friend that we just kind of got back together, and I guess maybe we're more in a similar family situation. So, yeah,
right.
That has been helpful. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So I appreciate you guys' advice.
Well, Amanda, we just got a social media comment from Janet, who is watching the video stream on YouTube that you might be able to resonate with. Janet says the one thing that I find hard to accept is when a friend just fades away from the relationship without giving an explanation, or even a family member who gives no reason why they don't keep in touch. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was Janet's comment. I meant Shannon. Shannon said, I was told by a priest that if the other person is drowning and you are in the boat, there's no use being in that relationship because they will take you down until they stop fighting and sink to the bottom. That is when they will be in receive mode. She says, I had to do this with my mother. She's still out there. I haven't had her in my life for almost 3 years now. Haven't spoken verbally for over a year. So she makes this analogy like, if someone is potentially going to bring you down with them, obviously if you came across a drowning person, you want to try to help if you could, but that has its own risks. I mean, I lost a friend in high school because someone tried to save him from drowning, and could not. So yeah.
That's a real life example. Amanda, too, maybe pray to your guardian angel to go to her guardian angel just to illuminate her mind, maybe, if you'd like to, resurrect this relationship in the future. Our guardian angels are willing to help us with our friendships, along with our ministry, along with our spiritual lives. So they're there to do that, and we should utilize them.
Yeah. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you guys very much.
Oh, you're welcome,
You're very
Amanda.
welcome.
We're going to be praying for you and your friend too.
Exactly.
So,
Thank
Jerry,
you.
what happened? Thank you. What happened to your friend that tried to save the drowning? Did he die?
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure I spoke right there in giving the details, but yeah, there was a schoolmate of ours was drowning, and another student went into the river to try to help him. Very, very strong, athletic, and before this second gentleman, the student realized what was happening, he was being pulled down with the drowning student. Because, my understanding is if you're drowning, you have such desperation, you'll cling to anything to want to try to get, back out and get some air. And so this student that went into the river to try to save him, ultimately to save his own life, he had to struggle and break free from the drowning person. It was so very, very sad, but, it's just one of those very unfortunate things. And I've come to realize that analogously, that can happen in relationships as well.
Well, it's like that thing too when you talk about the plane, put your oxygen mask on first.
Yep.
One summer I volunteered to do like some just minor lifeguarding at the community pool where I lived in New Jersey, and they taught us how to, go in and retrieve somebody if they're struggling in the water. And it's very interesting. I mean, they definitely have, you definitely have to protect yourself first. You cannot go in just dive deep and try to save them because you'll go right down with them. You have to be careful for yourself, and you have to watch how quickly you can get out yourself and be able to swim away if you had to. It's very interesting. So it's fun. It's interesting you're saying that.
All right, that line is open that Amanda was on. Who would like to join the conversation about ending friendships, relationships, working partnerships? Maybe you were close to a coworker and something happened and kind of drove a wedge in between you. Talking about ending relationships on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. 833-288-3986.
The words of Blessed Carlo Acutis.
The Eucharist is the highway to heaven.
And this.
Continuously ask your guardian angel for help. Your guardian angel has to become your best friend.
Hey, Take Two family, it's here, and we can't wait for you to see what we've created to help you reach your highest potential in life. It's StandTallToday.com, our brand new website loaded with just the things you're looking for. Those include our team of life coaches, resources picked out just for you, our webinars, book club, and more. Whether you're struggling to find your purpose or feel like you have it pretty much figured out, let us help you today at StandTallToday.com. That's StandTallToday.com.
This is Janet Morena of Priests for Life with Pro-Life Update. Sometimes clergy and pastoral ministers are silent on the topic of abortion because they don't want to hurt those in their church who have had abortions. While their intentions may be sincere, the problem is that silence does not interpret itself. Those in the church hurting from an abortion may think, they don't know my pain, or they don't care about it, or they know and they care, but there's no hope. The fact is, we do know, we do care, and there is hope. And that is why we speak about abortion and invite everyone to come to repentance and healing. Abortion hurts everyone, and the church is the first place where we should learn how to find Christ's healing. For more information, visit abortionshockwaves.com. This is Janet Morana on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
Hi, this is Cy Kellett. Later today on Catholic Answers Live, 2 hours of open forum. Tim Staples, Colin Donovan, Catholic Answers Live, 6 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We sure hope you join us. You have plenty of time. You do. If you just start dialing in right now, 833-288-3986, and tell us about your experience of having to end a friendship or a working partnership. We have a lot of social media comments coming in and emails and text messages, so thank you for that. But we'd love to hear your voice. Ryan is waiting to pick up the phone at 833-288-3986. I'm already learning and growing, Jerry.
Good. Well, we're going to learn and grow some more from Christine in Seattle, listening on Sirius XM 130. And Christine, we welcome you to the program. How are you?
Hi, good. Thank you.
Good.
Hi. Just to protect the people involved in the situation, I'll just give generalities. But the relationship that I unfortunately had to end was with a family member, and it wasn't something sudden over the course of a number of years. There was just a lot of, for lack of a better term, passive-aggressive comments and things happening that I just chose to brush off. But then it got to a point where things turned destructive and harmful for my family. Accusations were made against myself, and things that were destructive more so beyond than just my reputation, that put myself and my family in harm. And so once things began affecting my children, that's when I chose to end the relationship. And it was something that was very difficult because reconciliation is incredibly important, and forgiveness, and I've tried to offer this as much as I possibly could, but then I sought just advice from both a Catholic counselor and a pastor, and in both instances, it was the loving thing to do to end the relationship. And I see sometimes ending a relationship is very much like why the church has excommunication. It's not because the church is kicking someone out of anger. It's an act of love. And so I saw my ending this relationship as an act of love, that I was saying, not only am I not going to allow you to do this to myself and especially my children, which set a good example for them on how to handle relationships, but also it was a way for me to say, okay, here's the stopping point, and I hope that through this act of cutting off the relationship that, you know, this person will be able to fully see what they've done. Now, whether that's the case or not, I leave that in the hands of God. And I've had masses said for this person, and I pray spiritual protection over myself just with any spiritual warfare. And I think there's a lot of nuances in relationships that end, and the dynamics of relationships. But, I mean, it's always a sad thing when a relationship ends, but if the relationship ends out of love, and one thing that was very important for me to hear is that relationships are a two-way street, that we kind of have this bridge, and if I'm on one side and the person is on the other, and I keep coming to the other side, that's not a relationship. We have to meet in the middle. We both have to take steps if we desire this relationship to work. So when I found myself constantly being the one to seek forgiveness and reconciliation, and realizing that this wasn't a two-way endeavor, along with the destructive things that were happening, I realized that it was time to then end the relationship.
Okay, so I have a question for you, Christine. First of all, I want to say great job in bringing in, like you said, a priest and a Catholic counselor, and so you had all these advisors helping you make this very hard decision. So that's brilliant, because a lot of people just respond, or I should say react. They'll be in a situation and it's like, okay, this is the last time this is going to happen to me, and then they react, and that's when all things go south. So that was brilliant that you took that time and that prayerful consideration to really look at all the different angles and figure out what's best for you and your family and for this person. So given that this person is a family member, do you still encounter them at family events, and what does that look like?
In the past, yes, but currently, no. I have chosen to cut off all contact, so not just verbal, but also physical.
Okay.
And that was mostly, I mean, it just went along with, I kept the physical contact up, and then that was probably the last thing to go.
Okay.
So it was in, I would say in stages, but but in a sense, one and the same.
And I have a follow-up real quickly, because I know Jerry wants to say something, but real quickly. So how are you doing? How is your family? Have you noticed a very significant improvement in how you feel about things because you had to unfortunately cut this off and let this go?
I think that because it wasn't a rash decision, it was something that I had prayerfully considered and sought counsel with, that I feel very much at peace with it. And there is a lightness to not having this worry about what's going to happen next.
Right. Wow. Interesting. What do you think, Jerry?
No, I think that's very, very wise, Christine, that you did it that way. So many relationships that end, it's just all of a sudden something blows up and the whole thing explodes. And then, both parties or all parties are, feeling horrible and angry, and I'm never going to talk to that person or see them again. But you have approached this deliberately, like Debbie said, and echoed. You've sought counsel from a priest and a counselor. So your conscience has to feel just fine about this. Whether your heart, is totally fine with it or not is another thing. Because it's. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I definitely long for reconciliation. I mean, I think that's that's what the Christian life is about, is resurrection of things that are broken. And I long for that, but I also have to be wise and practical and not put myself and my children and my family in a position to be harmed.
Right, right. Well, and the other thing too about resurrecting friendships and relationships, remember, in a resurrection, everything is new, right? Things die and then they resurrect. So it's very interesting because a lot of people will say, well, I remember when I had so much fun with this person back then, but a new relationship can be just that, a very new and a very different relationship. So that is possible as well, right, Christine?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's always, if a relationship is ended through anger or hardness of heart, then I don't think that's the proper way. If it's ended through love and hope and, hope of forgiveness and a coming together again, whatever that looks like, I mean, that's always been my goal and my hope.
Beautiful.
And that's crucial. Some people have these experiences that you have had, Christine, and they say never, never again. That's it. And they put that wall up and they say, I'm never, ever going to ever have anything to do with this person again. But your heart's desire is to see exactly that. And I think that's a great step forward. And God is looking at your heart. And I believe he is going to fulfill that heart's desire of yours and bring you back together with this family member. That'll be our prayer certainly for you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Christine.
you for calling, Christine. Appreciate it.
Real quickly, I just want to say, Christine's example of a family member, that's really tough. And in so many ways, it's a lot harder to do than a friendship. And if with a friendship or somebody, in your neighborhood or something like that, you can easily, I hate to say it this way, but you can easily avoid that person. Sometimes it's very hard in a family relationship. So you really do have to take it to deep prayer and good counsel like Christine did. I think it's very wise to do that because it's tough with family. Wouldn't you say, Jerry? Your family's all talking. You're all good.
Yeah, I was going to say that earlier in the show. I feel sort of guilty when I hear of families, especially siblings that are just not in contact with one another. They're fighting. They're estranged, because I have my three brothers. My sister has passed away, but we all get along. We either agree on or agree to disagree on political things or faith things or whatever. But we all share very much the same, I think, philosophies and outlooks on life. And so that's, I take it as a very, very beautiful gift. Yeah.
Well, and your family's very warm. You're a very loving family. I mean, I'm in the same area in town of your sister-in-law, Anita and John. And, every time I see them, the warm hugs, and your brother Joe. And so your family's very warm like that, which is a beautiful thing. Some families didn't grow up like that. They're very distant. Maybe they were, not very, showed a lot of, what do you call it? The gestures of, loving affection. Yeah. Right. Loving gestures of affection. So, that has a part too. Have you guys always been like that? You guys always must, you seem, because when I meet John, your brother, and he's your baby brother, right? When I meet
Jim is.
Oh, Jim's the baby, the very baby, but John's younger than you, because you're the oldest boy. But it's very warm. I feel like when I talk to John, I'm talking to you, so that's a very unique situation you have in your family.
We are blessed. We're very blessed to be sure, and I would pray that for all families, because I don't know what it would be like. I haven't experienced being estranged or, not in contact with any family member, but I don't want to experience that. But I know a lot of people are, so I certainly pray for those who are in that situation. Christine, thanks again for the phone call. Appreciate that. An inspiration came to me, Debbie, about an example of kind of the topic that we're talking about today, and whether or not to stay in friendships with people or not. And it's a little bit of an extreme example compared to what we're talking about today. But in 1 Corinthians 5, Paul is talking about, in the first few verses, that there was a lot of sexual immorality going on, things like that. And then, of course, in that famous verse that some people find it difficult to conceive, Paul says, hand this man over to Satan for the destruction of his flesh, so that his spirit may be saved on the day of the Lord. he's basically telling the Corinthians, get rid of this guy. Don't have anything to do with him. He says, hand him over to Satan, which is, pretty powerful and striking. But he says
brutal.
that is, yeah, pretty brutal. But he says that's so that his spirit may be saved on the day of the Lord. So, taking that maybe down a few notches in terms of the circumstances, if we need to do that, sometimes we need to disconnect from some people, even family members, and it's for their good, maybe for our good too, So that just came to me, and I thought I would share it if it has any relevance to what we're talking about today. That's for, I guess, the listeners to decide.
Okay, yeah. So we're getting a lot of emails, and I understand now why we're getting them. I think people want to protect, people's privacy and stuff like that, and that's understandable. So I don't know. I want to maybe highlight some of the emails, Jerry. But do you think it's okay to read their first name?
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, we never read last names on the air, and we don't even have to read first names on today's show. I mean,
maybe we shouldn't, only because there's kind of personal details in some of these friendship, endings.
Yeah.
But there's interesting dynamics going on. I mean, people are really having some issues with some of their friendships and also their working relationships. So this could be quite helpful to others.
Yeah.
You want to read? Should we read some?
Yeah, I can read the first one that came in on this topic today. Dear Debbie and Jerry, I lost a friendship this year because a friend for over 30 years chose to put a saying about friendship on Facebook. It went something like this: I let go of people I wanted to be around forever. To me, that's my biggest strength. If you know me, you know my heart is big, and other self-accolades. If I let you go, it was for reasons that don't need explanation, other than it wasn't me, it was you. Several friends responded in such a way that you knew that they knew the situation. And so this emailer says, when I saw this, I knew right away that this was a comment for me. So I wrote back, wow, the dissolution of a friendship on Facebook, good to know. She immediately removed my comment and blocked me. So instead of just assuming, I asked her why she blocked me, and she said, I never comment on her Facebook, but I chose to now. I said, I don't follow you because I find it hurtful that you have time for so many people but me. First, let me say, I think Facebook is terrible, and to think that I have to like and share your stuff to prove my friendship is silly. I also said how serious I thought this was, that instead of valuing friendship and calling to discuss it, she chose this way to end our relationship. We haven't talked since, and quite frankly, I'm relieved. And so that came in, yeah.
Yeah, let me say something about that. I have really strong feelings about this. If you disagree with me, so be it. That's what we do. We have discussions, and we're not always going to agree. I think it's a real chicken exit to use Facebook to end a relationship. It is not a good platform. It's dangerous because you're inviting strangers to comment on something that is very personal to two people. And I think it's terrible. It's really, I think it's just really a coward's way, I'll say it, a coward's way of doing the hard work of relating to other people soul to soul. If you want to end with somebody, at least give them the dignity. That's what we're called to do as Catholic Christians, is to uphold the other's dignity. And you don't do that on Facebook. What do you think, Jerry?
Oh, I could not agree more. I think it's... as you know, I haven't done much on social media for probably going on 2 years now, just not out of an intentional decision. It was just sort of that I lost interest in it and saw that, a lot of junk was on there. But yeah, I think it's a very, very poor way to communicate, especially important things. I mean, other things, what's going on in your life, celebrating birthdays, anniversaries, things like this. Yeah, I think that can be very, very helpful to a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't know what's going on. But I agree with you with something like, breaking up a friendship or what have you. I have a very dear friend and his family in San Diego, and their son was dating this young lady, and everything was going fine until one day she texted him and said she wanted to break up the relationship. And yeah, he was crushed. And I'm not saying this was the reason. There had to be a lot of other reasons. But he jumped off a bridge and killed himself partly because of that. That was apparently the last straw, as he might have indicated before he died. And so, again, I'm not saying that tweet was the thing that pushed him to that point. There had to be a lot of stuff going on in his life. But it just shows how dramatic some of these things can be and how hard and difficult they can hit us sometimes.
Well, it's too abrupt, and people start piling on, and then you feel like the whole world's against you. That's when I always comment how I think it's the devil's playground in that area. It's very dangerous to the human spirit. What can be done, with just a few keystrokes, and you can change a person's life forever. That's not fair. That's just not fair, and it's not right. Okay, Richard. Richard is up next in North Dakota, listening on Ave Maria Radio. Hi, Richard. Thank you so much for waiting, and welcome.
Going to go to Richard next, if we can. There we go.
There we go.
Hi, Richard. Welcome.
Hi, Richard.
Yeah.
Hi. Thank you, guys. Definitely appreciate your show. I had a little bit of a lapse and probably listening for a while, but I started listening again after the new year here. And I felt compelled to call in, about the topic today because, like, in my own family, we have I have 8 brothers and sisters, and it seems like I think many times we have situations that are repeated in our family, and just was it yesterday or the day before, 2 of my sisters over a group message started getting into it pretty badly, and some of it has to do with the past election, and one of my sisters was very I don't know if she's necessarily falling into QAnon conspiracy stuff, but she's a lot more sending disinformation and things that just aren't happening and true bad information. And my other sister really was upset and irritated about it because she's like, you got to stop doing this. And so she was just being very blunt. And those 2 had gotten into issues in the past. I've had issues with the sister who has been spreading, some of the disinformation in the past. But this was almost an opportunity in a way that I started, trying to talk with both of them. But it's very interesting how we're all probably about 20 years removed from, being in the same house together, but we don't fight very nicely, and it's really sad because at one point, one of my sisters said, "Well, we grew up knowing the same faith, but they don't feel like they're shared or loved," and later in a personal message to me, that same sister stated that, that's part of the reason why she stopped going to church. And it kind of broke my heart.
Sure.
But it's like, it's just crazy how we can be so damaging to each other with not even really understanding. My other sister happens to be going through a really difficult time right now. Her husband's deployed. And she's, with COVID, she's, handling her family. And so, I don't know. It's I think relationships that don't, that are not maintained, I think they fall into these types of issues. And, I don't know. It's really difficult for me, I guess, because when I was first married, some of my same sisters didn't accept my wife, and neither did my mom. And we've since repaired some of those situations, but it still leaves an indelible mark in your heart, and it's hard to not remember that at times.
Sure. Richard, a couple thoughts from me. You, thanks be to God, you come from a large family. That shows openness to life on the part of your parents, and it sounds like a pretty strong family of faith. Having said that, I think it goes without saying, the more family members, the more people you get under one roof, the higher the possibility of, little disagreements and arguments and even fights, and especially as it even continues as we get into our older days, adults, midlife, times, and certain issues raise the temperature. There's no question about that. In my family, there has been some disagreement on political things, nothing that has gotten us, at odds with one another, thanks be to God. But, I know exactly what you're saying, and I would just say what Debbie says all the time, and that is one of the greatest things you have is your guardian angel, and they all have a guardian angel. And I would ask my guardian angel, if I were you, to go to each one of their guardian angels and just simply say, I want these relationships restored. I want there to be harmony in the family. We must love one another, especially in these times that we're living in right now. And Debbie, I know you'd agree that can have a powerful impact on the outcome of all of Richard's situation.
I completely agree. And Richard, as you were talking, one of our longtime Take Two family members texted in and she says, I want Richard as my family. You can hear the love that you have for your siblings. And I would just say, with your guardian angels, absolutely, from guardian angel to their guardian angels. But also, have you thought about writing a really heartfelt letter to them, telling them how much you love them and what you want for them and what you want for the family? There's something coming, from a brother that it just leaves a deep impact. They'll forever remember it, especially your sisters. And you probably are thinking that way already. But have you thought about that?
No, I haven't actually. That is a good thought. I get kind of lazy when it comes to writing letters, but I think you hit on something that, when I get a letter in the mail, a physical letter, it does have some meaning, and sometimes it does require a lot of thought, but it's definitely, send them just to each of those individual, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and one thing I just would recommend, if you're open to it, the past is the past. Things that were said, they were said, whatever. It's really from heart to heart. So your heart to trying to get to their heart, I think will make a big impact coming from their brother, because it made an impact on our audience. We're getting messages coming in. They're responding to you. So they're feeling your love. I can only imagine what your siblings will feel when they get that letter in the mail. They're going to feel very loved by their brother.
And Richard, hope that if you have a chance to listen tomorrow, we're doing a show on Our Lady Undoer of Knots. That is one of the titles of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and it means exactly what it says. When things get all tangled up in knots and so forth, we can turn to Our Lady, and she can help to undo those knots. So please, if you get a chance, tune into the program tomorrow. I also want to mention tonight at 9 Eastern Time is EWTN News Nightly, and you get Tracy Sable and the team with the news from a Catholic perspective on top stories and daily reports from around the world. That's EWTN News Nightly, 9 p.m. Eastern Time tonight. So thanks, Richard. Julia, you hear the closing music there. We don't have time, but if you would email us, we would love to hear what you were going to share on the air.
Okay. Yes, Julia and everyone else, you can keep emailing in, take2@EWTN.com. We're getting a lot of messages coming in very, very fast, and so we're trying to retrieve them all, but I don't know if we're going to be able to respond, but we'll read everything. Right, Jerry?
We will, and all of you who emailed, thank you so much. And the show team want to thank Michael, Rich, Jeff. For Debbie, I'm Jerry. Thank you, Take Two family and the affiliates, for carrying the program. Again, tomorrow, we're going to talk about your knowledge of and devotion to Our Lady Undoer of Knots. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. And St. Joseph, pray for us.
Please pray for us.